So in today's video, I'm going to discuss about how to select a board following your class 10th exam. And this particular selection is largely dependent on the fact that whether you are going for the engineering field, the medical field, or in the long term you plan to go for civil service, become a scientist, and so on. So let's start with some of the competitive exams which you give after class 12 and how these are dependent to some extent on the boards. So let's start with the JEE exam which you require for the Indian Institute of Technologies. So essentially I would say in this exam there are two possible paths which you can take. One is that you are giving this JEE exam to primarily get a BTech degrees from the Indian Institute of Technology and then get a job. And so if you are going for this path, then I would say the CBSE board is the best for you. And if you are not able to get into the CBSE board, you can try for a tough state board. Now a tough state board is a board where the math and science levels are similar to that of CBSE, and probably they follow books which are somewhat similar to the NCERT books which are there for class 12 level. Now the next possible situation is that you are going for the JEE exam, but your intent is to do a bachelor's degree in India and then do a master's and PhD degree in the USA, which is often the case with several students. Now in this case I would suggest that you take the ISC board, because this board will concentrate to a greater extent on the English language and develop your literary capabilities, and this will help you in the verbal sections in the GRE exam. Now as far as the JEE syllabus is concerned, you can certainly give the JEE by studying for the ISC board, but you need to look at the NCERT books also to just make sure that you have covered all the content from the NCERT site, especially in the chemistry book. Now the same pattern would also apply for people who are planning to do a BTech degree and then go for management. So this could be a BTech degree followed by giving GMAT and going to USA to do a management degree, or it could be within India. So you complete your BTech degree, go to the IIMs using the CAT or the CAT exam, and then do that particular MBA degree. So in both these cases I would say that ISC board would give you a slight advantage because your English language skills would be better, and I have found that it is very hard to develop good verbal skills later in life. Of course, the contrary situation is that there are some people who are going to CBSE boards in excellent schools in large metro cities, and in these cities they actually cover a lot of issues such as English literature. They have very well stocked libraries and so on, and their parents may also be from a certain segment of the population which has a lot of books in their home. So again, these people will probably do well if they go for CBSE board also. But in case this is not there for you, you are in a small town or you do not have a family which has a predilection towards the English language, then you can go for the ISC board. Now let's turn to the second popular choice, which is the NEET, and this is the exam you need to give for the medical profession. So essentially you want to become a doctor, an MBBS doctor, a real doctor. So here I would say you should go for the CBSE board, which is probably the best for the NEET exam. Now again, if you are not able to get the CBSE, you can go for a tough state board and make sure you go through the NCERT books very carefully. The third possibility is that you are going for a KVPY type of exam and your aim is to become a scientist. Now here again I would recommend the CBSE board for most people, especially if their plan is to do a bachelor's or master's degree and continue to do a PhD degree within the country. But if you are a person who is giving the KVPY and wants to do a bachelor's or master's degree in India and go to the US or some other country to do a PhD degree in the sciences, then I would recommend the ISC board, because you will be better prepared for the GRE exam when you give it later. So once again, make sure that if you are going for this board, then spend some time in going through the NCERT books and making sure that all the aspects of the syllabus for KVPY are covered in the ISC board. Now, there are some people who have a long-term plan of going for the IAS and the various other civil service examination. Now, in these cases, the people may want to do a BSc, BCom or a BA degree, which is essentially graduation, and then sit for this civil service test, which is one of the toughest tests in the world. And here there are a couple of aspects to keep in mind. It becomes simpler to give this civil service if you go to a good college. So your aim at class 10 level should be to get into a board where you can get the highest possible marks and get into a good college. So again, here I would recommend the CBSE boards and the state boards, and you need to do some research to make sure that the state board which you are going for gives you high marks. So again, you would know that from knowing what are the typical marks which are obtained by the various people in the different schools. Now, there are some people who are planning to go to US and some other foreign countries right after their class 12. And here, I would say the US system is very SAT centric. And SAT is an exam which essentially tests quantitative and verbal skills. So I would recommend the ISC board for these people, because as far as the English language is concerned, their capability would probably be better here. But again, there are several CBSE schools in metro cities which also have very good English faculty and coursework which may be beyond the typical CBSE board level. And also in these cases, I would also recommend that you may take some coaching for the SAT in case your school is not at that level as far as the English language is concerned. Now, if people are very state centric and their primary aim is to remain in the particular state where they are studying, then the state board is probably the best, because most of the colleges and universities in the state will prefer marks from the state board, and the state board marks will be something which they can clearly understand. So again, this is something to keep in mind. Now, there are many states which have engineering colleges for which they have created some examination. And in these cases, again, the state board syllabus is quite in line with the syllabus of this particular examination. So again, the state board would be very useful in these scenarios. Sometimes the state board syllabuses are also linked with the test syllabuses here, and beside the normal school timings, there is a coaching class which takes place beyond the school timing, and so both of these exams can be prepared for simultaneously. So that is an option for some students who want to kill two birds with one stone. Now, there are many people who are going to spend their career within a state. So maybe they are going to work in the state government, they're going to be involved in local politics. They need to know local languages very thoroughly because they may be dealing in fields such as real estate, local legal matters, and so on. Or sometimes they may want to become experts in the local language such as Tamil, Bengali, Hindi, as the case may be. So in all these cases, the state board is a very good board for these people, because most of the power structure in the state is based on people who come from the state boards. And so this also helps people to be grounded in the local situation, and also they know a lot about the local system because they have studied the history of the state, the language of the state, the literature, the iconography, the festivals, and so on. And so that is something to keep in mind, that if you are a very state centric person and do not have much plans to go out of your state in future, then you can go for the state board. But the state board can be negative for a person who is studying in a particular state and then maybe gets a job in a faraway state somewhere else, and then this person would have a greater degree of culture shock than if somebody has been into the CBSE board or the ICSE board. So that is something to keep in mind depending on your family structure, your long-term plans and your particular vision in life. So again, these are some points I had for you today, but also keep in mind that many of the deficiencies in a particular board regarding an exam you are giving can be mitigated by taking appropriate coaching classes, both online and offline, and by reading some of the plethora of books which are out there on all these exams. But of course, you want to make sure that you grow as a person using your school, because the school timing is quite substantial, and so the school timing should contribute toward your exam goals. So these are some points I had for you today, and I hope you benefited from this video. Thank you very much.